Hey guys, sorry for a late upload. We'll try to become more consistent after this, and thank you for so much appreciation on my videos. Today we will be talking about sparkling wines, so let's get into it. During fermentation process, yeast eats sugar and this process releases alcohol, heat and carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide gas is usually not included in the final product, but here in sparkling wines it plays an important role. The fizziness, the bubbles are caused because of blocking this carbon dioxide. Now sparkling wines was discovered by mistake. It was in 1600s when Dom Perignon had a vineyard in Champagne region. He used to make white wines. It was a usual day, usual products were made. But since the Champagne region has cold climate, the yeast in one of those batches got inactive. And the distiller felt that the yeast has done its work, so those were bottled. Later in the warehouse, temperature rised and yeast got activated, releasing heat and carbon dioxide. Now this carbon dioxide was blocked in the bottle, which made the bottles pop. Dom Perignon found about this, and to understand this phenomena, he tasted these wines, and that's how we got the new way of creating wines. That's how we got sparkling wines. Talking about the pressure levels, to be a sparkling wine, 3 or more atmospheric pressure level is needed. Fun fact, champagne has at least 5 atmospheric pressure level, which makes it double the level in an automobile tire. Let's learn about the way these wines are produced. For IHMites, only the top 3 are required for your syllabus. The other 3 are mentioned but are not so much used around the globe, but we will learn about it. First is the traditional method, or as the French call it, Méthode champenoise. A base wine is established which is called cuvée. This base wine is blend of usually 20 to 30 different wines. Then the yeast and sugar is added and is bottled for the second fermentation. Yeast does the work, releases carbon dioxide which is not allowed to exit, making the drink fizzy. After the yeast has served its purpose, it dies, and the wine are aged on these dead yeast particles called lees. Bottles are kept upside down on their necks so that all the unwanted sediments are settled at the neck. Then these bottles are put in freezing liquid, freezing the sediments, and then voila, the cap is popped open and lees gets removed. After that, exposition liqueur is filled in these bottles and providing it with extra sweetness. Here is a video to make you understand this better. You can see how the bottles are getting rotated. This is done during the riddling process. And in this you can see on the left the bottle necks are getting popped up, and then the bottles are filled with exposition liqueur. The tank method is also called the Cremant method. The difference between tank and traditional method is using of tanks rather than bottle for the second fermentation. This makes the process quite inexpensive. Here the wines are not required to get aged as the filtration is done using the pressure resistant filter method which is adjoined to the tank. Now the difference between transfer and tank is that in tank method, second fermentation and filtration happens in tanks, whereas in the transfer method, second fermentation happens in bottles, and then for filtering, these are emptied into the tanks. In the ancestral method, first fermentation is paused midway and continued later in the bottles. How this happens is to stop the fermentation by chilling the wine and then bottling it and keeping it at the desirable temperature for yeast to get active again. This is called the ancestral method, as this is actually the way how the first sparkling wines were created by mistake. The continuous method is not so popular and also is called the Russian method. Here there are 3 tanks in use. In first, continuous yeast is getting added to increase the atmospheric pressure. Then it is moved to the second tank which has pre-added yeast enrichments, giving the flavor and autolytic flavor of wines similar to those made from the traditional method. In the last tank, dead yeast and enrichment are settled out, leaving clear wine. This process is very cheap comparing to others but produces low quality sparkling wines. The carbonation method simply takes a still wine and carbonates it in a pressurized tank. Lower quality and bulk wines are made this way. New Age is one of the known sparkling wines which are produced by this method. Now let's talk about types of sparkling wines around the globe. Champagne. Any sparkling wine created in Champagne region following the given rules of production and appellation is called a champagne. Champagne is known to be noble and a royal wine. It's very expensive due to the way it's produced. Appellations are legally defined and protected geographical regions like a district, which is used to identify where the grapes of wine are grown. Now, champagne is made from primarily 3 grapes: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. But other grapes are also used for the blends. Champagne is only produced by the traditional method. Now, a story I would like to share. Dom Perignon, the founder of this wine, was financially charged by his superiors to get rid of the bubbles, since the pressure in the bottles caused many of them to burst in the cellar. As sparkling wine production increased in the early 18th centuries, cellar workers had to wear a heavy iron mask to prevent injury from spontaneously bursting bottles. The disturbance caused by one bottle exploding could cause a chain reaction, with it being routine for sellers to lose 20 to 90% of their bottles this way. The mysterious circumstance surrounding the unknown process of fermentation and carbonic gas caused some critics to call the sparkling creations the devil's wine. In general, magnums are thought to be higher quality as there is less oxygen in the bottle. Other versions of bottles are also there. Now, the bottle and the cork plays a big part. The bottle glass is usually thicker and so is the cork. And for the known champagne etiquette or sparkling wine etiquette, this is always served in the flute. This here is the sweetness scale of sparkling wine. All sparkling wines are classified by their sweetness. Next is Cremant. They are originally produced in France, but this doesn't have an exclusive rights to France like Champagne, and hence is also produced in Luxembourg and Belgium. Now the name Cremant comes because these wines focus on its creaminess rather than fizziness. The sparkling wine of Cava was created in 1872 by Joseph Ravento. The vineyards of Pineda were devastated by the plague, and the predominantly red wines were being replaced by a large number of wines producing white grapes. After seeing the success of Champagne region, Raventos decided to create the dry sparkling wine that became the reason for the region's continued success. In the past, the wine was referred to as Spanish champagne, but is no longer permitted under the EU law, so Cava. Sekt are low quality wines produced in mostly Germany using tank method. Talking about Italian sparkling wines, Prosecco is a popular one produced by tank method. Lambrusco was very famous in the past and still has a long way to go since it tarnished its reputation nearly 40 years ago, which we can blame on the wine boom of the 1970s. The new world sparkling wines are also doing really well around the globe. US, Canada, Australia, Chile and South Africa is well known in the market for producing good quality wines. And they have also put their hands on sparkling wines. Many top French and Italian winemakers are funding on companies in these countries. So I hope you guys would have learned about sparkling wines and also why all sparkling wines are not called as champagne. Next video will be coming soon, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching.